Hey there, folks. Welcome to the Jason Rice Show Week in Review. This is where I'm going to tag a little bit of a conversation from one of my previous podcasts that I found very useful. Today I'm using a clip from my conversation with Dr. Jerry Mixon. And then also I'm going to try to put some things in here that I just discovered throughout the week that I thought were really beneficial. They stuck out to me. Maybe you missed it because you actually have a real life and you don't just accumulate random bits of trivia and health and wellness data and all that stuff like your host does. So I'll do it for you. I will scour the internet, the socials, and all that good stuff. Although I am trying to do a social media detox, which I'm going to talk about in this episode as well. But anyway, let's start out with a little bit from my conversation with Dr. Jerry Mixon. Now, this was actually aired on my other podcast, The Healthy CEO. So if you've never checked that out, please do so. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Please go over there, check it out, subscribe to it. That one is just, as the title indicates, is purely health and wellness based. And Jerry Mixon was a great conversation. This guy's an absolute stud. He is, I believe, 74 years old. And if I'm not mistaken, has a 12-year-old daughter, and he still fences with his daughter. And he's a war hero, just awesome guy. And he's incredibly brilliant as a physician. So here's a little bit of that conversation with Dr. Jerry Mixon. Again, check out the full episode over at thehealthyceo.com. And before you get to that, sorry, going a little long here, don't forget to click like or subscribe if you're watching this on the YouTube channel. That's it. I'm out. Check it out.
I would start by making us lean. Okay. Fat kills. Fat causes cancer, dementia, heart disease, osteoporosis, kidney failure, blindness, diabetes, all of this. You can think of your body as two major components. One is fat and the other is muscle. Fat is destructive. It's not cosmetic. It's not something that is inert and you simply carry it around and it makes lumps and bulges, okay? Fat is an active gland. It's producing over 80 different compounds that it's dumping into your bloodstream that promote atherosclerosis, narrowing of your arteries. It increases inflammation everywhere. And that inflammagene is the phrase we use, of this chronic low-grade inflammatory process in our brains is causing your neurons to get sick and die faster. So our brains tend to shrink with age in large measure because we have chronic inflammatory changes due to our body fat. The inflammation triggers cancers. It triggers heart attacks. It triggers plaques in your arteries. It helps to thin out your bones, okay? It causes your joints to start degenerating. Americans live a long time, but we live a long time with chronic diseases, far longer with more chronic diseases than almost anyone else on earth because we get sick younger. We have a very expensive, very complex medical care system that keeps us kind of going, but we stay sick. So one of the most destructive things is excess body fat. If you can't see your abdominal muscles, you're too fat. You can make all the fancy charts you want, but if you stand in front of a mirror and you do not see those rectus muscles, you're too fat. It's that simple.
So this next clip is with Dr. Rhonda Patrick. I think she is just cooler than the other side of the pillow. And one of the things that she talks about in this clip that I thought was really important was exercise snacks. We have this mindset, a lot of us, like there's one particular person in my life, a dear friend who I absolutely adore, and she will not exercise. She will ask me about supplements. She will ask me about what to eat, what not to eat, which diet works, which doesn't work. And I always tell her, if you're not exercising, none of the rest really matters. She doesn't want to hear it because so many people think exercise, pain, drudgery, sweat, just soul crushing. No, it doesn't have to be that way. If you will just do little bursts of active activity, it can make a world of difference. And that's exactly what Rhonda Patrick is going to talk about in this clip right here. So check that out.
So exercise snacks they can be structured or unstructured. And I talked about this with Dr. Martin Gibala a lot. He's been involved in a lot of studies involving the unstructured type of exercise snacks. But the structured type of exercise snack is something where you're getting your heart rate really high, at least 80% of your max heart rate, right? You're getting more into in that vigorous intensity zone. And it could be anywhere from 1 minute to 9 minutes, perhaps 10 minutes, where you're doing intervals, right? If you're doing a 10 minutes, it's not like the entire 10 minutes you're in that, but you're doing intervals. But if you're doing a 1 minute or 2 minute or 3 minute workout, then you can be in a pretty high 85% your max heart rate zone, right? So some examples would be something like body weight squats, or you do high knees or burpees or jumping jacks for some people, lunges, right? Something where you're engaging multiple muscle groups and you're also just getting your heart rate up as well. So those would be the structured types of exercise snacks. There's also the unstructured type where people just throughout their daily activities that they're doing will engage in an exercise snack. So these are called vigorous intermittent lifestyle physical activity, or VILPA. And this is typically someone who, let's say their office is on the 3rd or 4th floor of a building, and they sprint up the stairs. They go fast up the stairs. Maybe not technically sprint, because a coach would be like, no way. And you're right, but no way. But they're going fast. They're not just walking. They're going fast. Their heart rate's getting up. And they do that multiple times a day, or they walk, and instead of just walking, they're really briskly walking. They're going really fast, right? And there's other examples of this sort of unstructured type of, house cleaning sometimes, right? People are like going around and vacuuming, and they're kind of fast. Like, I've seen that being the case as well. So there's a lot of types of unstructured exercise that can be done. And there's a variety of benefits that are associated with these exercise snacks. And with Dr. Gibala, when he came on the podcast, he was talking a lot about these VILPA studies where researchers give people that are engaging in this type of unstructured exercise an accelerometer. So this is measuring their heart rate, and they're able to see their heart rate, and also, like, I guess, the distance as well. But it's also measuring their heart rate, and they're seeing how high their heart rate goes. And then they've looked at a variety of outcomes: all-cause mortality, cardiovascular-related mortality, cancer-related mortality. And what these publications, which Dr. Gibala has been a part of, have shown is that people that are engaging in this type of VILPA exercise, this unstructured exercise, for 1 to 2 minutes, 3 times a day, so you're getting up to the 9-minute a day range, they have a 50% reduction in all-cause mortality, cardiovascular-related mortality, and a 40% reduction in cancer-related mortality. And these are benefits that are even found in people that identify as non-exercisers. So, in other words, they don't consider themselves, they don't go to the gym, they're not doing tennis or dance class or whatever. They consider themselves like not doing physical activity. So I think that data really kind of drives home that even these small sort of bursts of physical activity can be beneficial for health. Then there's also a lot of psychological benefits that Dr. Gibala talked about as well.
So this next clip that I'm going to show you is with Arthur Brooks on Cal Newport's Deep Questions podcast. Highly, highly, highly recommend Cal Newport's podcast. He's the author of Deep Work and is one of my favorite books, and it has become one of my favorite podcasts because if you've been listening to the Monday Morning Mentor, if you haven't, you really should come back here every Monday. I give you just a little short podcast on something that I'm experimenting with or something that I think that I have screwed up royally and learned from. I share with you so that maybe you don't do it. I become your Monday Morning Mentor. Okay. And one of the things that I've been talking about, I think in maybe the last 3 episodes, is how to get smarter, the things that we can do to improve our brains. And one of the things that Arthur Brooks talks about in this episode where he's with Cal Newport is depending on technology too much. A lot of us, we like to blame the iPhone for all of our kids' problems with distraction and their inability to hold thoughts for a long time, or even our ability to stay concentrating on something for a long time. But really, it's not the iPhone's fault. It's whenever all these apps started to appear on our phones, and now this portable device that we have with us is constantly tapping at our brain saying, look at me, look at me, look at me, either for a dopamine hit or to figure out a problem that we're just not willing to try to figure out on our own. And Arthur Brooks, who also, by the way, just released, I guess it's been a little bit ago now, maybe a couple of months ago, the book, The Meaning of Your Life. I just finished it. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. He sits down with Cal and talks about some of these issues that we're having with people not using their brains to solve problems, but instead kind of outsourcing that to the apps that are on their phones and other places. So check that out.
The iPhone was produced as part of a broader culture of hustle and technology. It was part of the broader culture that said all of these deep, complex needs in your life for love and beauty and suffering and calling and transcendence, we can solve it with these complicated things. We can actually bring genius to bear in engineering that can solve these problems, which has been the mantra of the age, man. And there's nothing really new about that, but that really started exploding in the new century, before the iPhone. The iPhone was produced to solve problems that it can't solve. All these tech things do. I mean, think about it. When Facebook was invented at my university, I mean, the promise was it was going to wipe out loneliness. Loneliness is a complex human problem. That Facebook is a complicated engineered algorithm, and complicated algorithms can't solve complex human needs. They can't. The result is, if you try to do that, you're going to get lonelier, not less lonely. If you're trying to wipe out your loneliness with social media, you're going to wind up lonelier. And I got the data to show it. I've got the studies that actually show that. And that's the same thing with everything else. So the problem isn't the iPhone. The problem is how we use it, because this is the way the culture has been pushing us in the first place.
So there's different elements, I guess, that was shifting us towards this more technical or technocratic way of thinking about human emotion. What are the forces that are coming together here?
So this is what we might call the post-industrial revolution. The Industrial Revolution, everybody understands actually how it worked, and when it created the middle class, but it also destroyed a lot of indigenous ways of living. A lot of normal ways of families being together led to a lot of urbanization and family fragmentation, et cetera, et cetera. The post-industrial revolution is very similar in its way. And what it basically says is that we're going to move toward an algorithmic approach to the basic human needs that we actually all care about. So for example, with the Industrial Revolution, what it did is it made physically weak people strong by adding machines to the way that we work. The post-industrial revolution, it makes people smarter. It actually is an enhancement of cognitive skill. But the important thing to keep in mind is that it doesn't enhance all of your cognitive skills. You have two kinds of cognitive skills. You got the left brain complicated stuff, and you have the right brain complex stuff. And the right brain is all the why questions of love and mystery and meaning. That's real life. On the left brain, you have all the algorithms that you're actually trying to solve. And we have these things every day, and they're important. How do I get my food? How do I get to work? How do I find my destination? How do I turn on my computer? All of these are left brain problems. The engineered approach to life, the post-industrial revolution, gives us this massive left brain, but it lies to us. It says that we can actually, with that massive left brain, solve our right brain needs for mystery, meaning, love, and happiness, and it can't be done.
So there you have it, folks. A little bit of health and wellness, brain health, and my first ever week in review in the can. What did you think of this format? Let me know. If you've watched this again on the YouTube channel, please leave some comments. Let me know the sort of things that you want to hear on these reviews, and please come back. This is an 8-year experiment. The Jason Wright Show is about to be 8 years old. The Healthy CEO is about to reach its 3rd year anniversary. So it's crazy I've been doing this long, and I'm constantly experimenting, trying to figure out ways to make the show better, more engaging. And so I'd love to hear back from you. And until we meet again, keep coming back here, checking out the podcast. Until we meet again, keep continuing to improve always in all ways. I'm out. Well, that does it for this episode of The Jason Wright Show. Thank you so much for listening. This has been a Texas Titan Media production. Fourth Wall did the music. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Please consider going out to jasonwrightnow.com and signing up for the Vitruvian Letter. Also, please go out to iTunes. It takes like 30 seconds to just leave us a 5-star rating. It does wonders for the podcast. I would be so grateful. And with that, until we meet again, Go crush it and endeavor to improve always in all ways. I'm out.